Now, it's not the war with North Korea that everyone should be concerned about, but the oncoming war with China that should be on everyone's mind. And as the American war machine gears up with the help of the U.S. mainstream media, you won't believe the levels of propaganda and disinformation that's being sold to you that we will expose right now in this video.
With fire, fury, and frankly power, the likes of which this world has never seen before. Thank you.
Now, the last comment, the likes of which the world has never seen before, is very telling, since we know the capabilities and power of nuclear weapons has expanded tremendously ever since the first and last nuclear attack that was also carried out by the United States in Asia. Now, there is a lot of tough talk from Donald Trump, who of course is selling this potential war to the American public, and with the help of the corporate mainstream media establishment, people are buying it. And this leads to a very troubling development, not just for us, but the people of the world. Now, the conflict between North Korea and the United States has been going back and forth for decades now. The latest string of events unfolded after the U.S. successfully passed sanctions against North Korea at the United Nations, which North Korea responded with, saying that they would have a thousand-fold revenge against the United States for these sanctions. This is where Donald Trump responded and said not to threaten the United States as he threatened North Korea, and then reportedly North Korea responded saying that it is taking seriously the consideration for a preemptive strike on Guam. This, of course, sparked the U.S. military to get ready, and even the official Twitter page of the Pacific Air Force tweeted that they are ready to conduct their bilateral missions with Japan, and quote that the U.S. is ready to fight tonight. And now this is the very important linchpin here, because as this news was developing, supposedly new information came to light about how North Korea could be in possession of a miniature nuclear warhead that, quote, reached a new stage of their weapons program and would make it possible for the North Koreans to send a nuclear weapon to Guam. Now, it's important to note that this information is coming from the Defense Intelligence Agency, other known as DIA, that has actually released the same information on April 11th, 2013, when General Michael Flynn was in charge of that intelligence agency. And upon releasing this same information in 2013 under the Barack Obama administration, was immediately proved wrong with their report. And now the report saying the same thing that it did in 2013 has come up right now and is being used all over the mainstream media. Now, it's important to note here, the DIA, the Defense Intelligence Agency, has been previously wrong on other occasions. And they are known to have a reputation for being sensational sometimes and mostly pushing for more war. Just like as an example of, like they were proven wrong in Iraq in May of 2002. Now, it's important to note here, this report could be correct. I mean, the North Koreans did claim that they had this possibility themselves on March 10th, 2016. But overall, whether North Korea has these capabilities or not, it's irrelevant, because what ultimately matters is what the U.S. war machine wants you to think and how its actions are justified as they construct their narrative. We have to understand the U.S. war machine has an extensive history of lying, of using false flags, and using propaganda on its own people to push for more senseless wars that, looking back in American history, did not need to happen. And I know that's a very bold claim to make, but consider the fact that in the American mainstream media, you do not hear the fact that China actually proposed a double suspension to diffuse the rising tensions between Korea and the United States, and offered up a deal to both countries that would make the North Koreans suspend its nuclear and missile activities in exchange for the United States ending their large-scale U.S. and South Korean military exercises where they do dry runs about destroying and bombing North Korea, which the North Koreans see as a provocation. Now, with China offering this deal up, North Korea actually agreed to these terms. Barack Obama was offered this resolution by China, and he said no. Donald Trump was also just proposed this resolution by China, and he said hell no. The offer has actually been made and rejected 3 years in a row, 2 years by Barack Obama and now by Donald Trump, which, at least from my point of view, sounds like a reasonable resolution. What do you think? Let me know in the comments section below. But there's a reason you don't hear about this in the U.S. mainstream media that is hell-bent and has always been bloodthirsty for more war. Now, moving forward, it's important to understand, instead of just arrogantly dismissing Kim Jong-un as crazy or unstable, that it would be more beneficial to interpret his actions carefully and not just dismiss them arrogantly like the mainstream media has, so we get a full understanding and picture of what's happening here. Now, of course, this does not mean I support Kim Jong-un in any way, but that it's just important to understand his actions and why he does things to see the next moves that he will make. And even according to Trump's intelligence chief, Kim Jong-un learned from the case of Libya to never give up nukes. In 2003, Libya has announced, because of pressure from the United States and the United Nations, that they would be giving up their chemical, biological, and nuclear weapons program, which they did. And then in 2011, the United States and NATO bombed the crap out of that country, overthrowing the Gaddafi regime that previously complied with the United States, and then had him tortured and sodomized on YouTube. So from the North Korean side, it is only their nuclear weapons program that is keeping them safe from, of course, their own perspective. Now, a bigger issue here is, of course, North Korea's neighbor, China, which just moments ago released a statement saying that all sides, North Korea and the United States, should avoid any words, actions that might escalate the situation in Korea right now. And clearly they want both sides to cut it out, stop it, and do not support Donald Trump's plan to deal with North Korea, as Donald Trump has publicly complained about before. And it's not only China that is not on the side of the United States, but also Russia when it comes to this North Korean crisis. As we know, Russia and China, just of April of this year alone, sent troops to the North Korean border, fearing that Donald Trump would attack North Korea. China and Russia have also dispatched warships shadowing the U.S. military as they make their aggressive actions in North Korean waters. Russia recently has made public statements saying that they have given up on working with Donald Trump. They are making specific moves against the U.S. petrodollar, and along with China, do not see a common goal with the United States. Tensions between the United States, Russia, and China are higher than they have been in decades. Donald Trump has previously attacked China when he was campaigning to be president of the United States. He then walked back his comments when he became president of the United States, said that China was not a currency manipulator, tried to appease them, tried to work with them, especially on the issue of North Korea, and the Chinese have pushed back, which made Donald Trump frustrated once again, and then issue sentiments that he would do this with China or without China. The conflict in the South China Sea is also raising tensions between these two countries. China, of course, is increasing their military capabilities, from new stealth fighters to ICBMs. They are readying their military along the North Korean border, and if you look at the bigger geopolitical picture here, they sure as hell do not want the United States meddling inside of North Korea. They have made that clear before. There's no interest to the Chinese to have an expanded military presence of American and South Korean forces right along their border, eliminating the buffer country that is North Korea that they love and they hate. There is no win here for China if the United States decides to attack North Korea. Only a sign of aggression that, of course, the Chinese and the Russians will not appreciate at all, and the chances of them responding with their own military action keeps increasing as the time goes by. And all of this could have been prevented if the United States would not do practice bombing runs of North Korea. But they don't. And people really need to ask themselves, is North Korea really a threat to the United States? And what are the bigger motives here? As we know, wars have only boosted presidential approval ratings, and for Donald Trump that would be a win since they are at an all-time low right now. He is being advised by people like Henry Kissinger, a bloodthirsty warmongering globalist who would rather see the failure of the Iranian state than the rise of the Islamic State and ISIS inside of the Middle East. He has other globalist and Bilderberg members like McMaster around him that have previously been backed and worked with his enemy. And if we look at Donald Trump's foreign policy, there is no care and consideration for the life of civilians. There is no moral compass here. There is only an agenda that has been followed through previous predecessors before him that is only being continued and perpetrated in a very disturbing way that can only be stopped with real news and information. Now, don't let fear win during these tense situations. Share this video to get the truth out to the American people. And just so you know, as of today, I pretty much lost all of my YouTube income, as YouTube just demonetized my most viewed 660 videos. So your support and participation on WeAreChange.org/donate are more important than you know right now. I hate asking you guys for help, but at this time I really don't know what to do forward, and I will make a new video explaining the situation in full in just a few hours. Subscribe, stay tuned, love you.